The baby was already crying when Zara found her in the burning car. Not possible. The car had been on fire for 10 minutes. She'd watched it from her apartment window, flames eating through metal and glass, black smoke choking the night sky. No one survived that. No one should have survived that. But when Zara ran downstairs, barefoot on broken glass and ash, she heard it. An infant's wail, sharp and furious, cutting through the roar of flames. The back door hung open, twisted metal still glowing red-hot. Inside, strapped into a car seat that should have melted, was a baby girl. 3 months old, maybe 4. Wrapped in red silk that wasn't even singed. Her skin perfect, unmarked. Eyes dark as midnight, staring straight at Zara like she'd been waiting. Around her neck, a note on fireproof paper. Zara grabbed the car seat and ran, feet burning on hot asphalt, lungs screaming. She didn't stop until she reached her apartment, kicked the door shut, and collapsed against it, the baby still wailing in her arms. Only then did she read the note, hands shaking so badly the words blurred. This child belongs to Choi Min-jae. Deliver her to the Choi estate before dawn, or the fire that spared her will come for you next. The underworld keeps its bargains. You've been chosen as witness. Below the text, an address in gold leaf. And a single word in Korean she'd learned from late-night dramas, samang, death. Zara looked at the baby, who'd gone silent the moment they crossed the threshold. Those eyes, God, those eyes, tracked Zara's face like she was reading her soul. And Zara felt something crack open in her chest. Recognition. Impossible, but true. She knew this child. Had never seen her before in her life, but knew her. The apartment lights flickered. Died. In the darkness, Zara heard breathing that wasn't hers, wasn't the baby's. Something else. Something that smelled like incense and copper and wet earth. The baby's fingers wrapped around Zara's thumb, grip impossibly strong, and Zara saw it. A flash of vision that wasn't memory. A man kneeling before an altar, offering his blood. A woman dying in childbirth, screaming. The same man 10 years later, older, broken, whispering, "Give me an heir. I'll pay whatever it costs." The vision shattered. The lights came back on. The baby was smiling at her. Not a baby's reflex smile. A knowing smile. Testing her. Zara's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You have 4 hours to deliver her. The Choi estate, North Gate. Come alone. Tell no one. If she cries between midnight and dawn, the underworld takes her back. If you fail to deliver her, it takes you instead. Zara checked the time, 1:47 a.m. 4 hours until dawn. She looked at the baby, who stared back with Min-jae's eyes. She knew they were his eyes, knew it the way you know your own heartbeat, and understood that everything in her life had been leading to this moment. The fire. The note. The impossible child who survived what should have killed her. Zara had been chosen. Not randomly. Chosen. She grabbed her keys, wrapped the baby in her jacket, and ran. The Choi estate loomed like a Gothic nightmare. All black iron gates and stone walls and windows that reflected nothing, not even moonlight. Zara had passed it 100 times on her way to work, always wondering what kind of person lived behind those walls. Now she knew. The kind who made deals with the underworld. The north gate swung open before she could knock. A man stood in the courtyard. Tall, sharp-featured, wearing a suit despite the hour. Blood on his collar, fresh, still wet. When he saw the baby, his entire body went rigid, like he'd been struck by lightning. His hands trembled as he reached for the car seat, and his voice cracked when he spoke. How is this possible? The ritual was 10 years ago. I thought, he stopped, jaw clenching. Where did you find her? Burning car. Downtown. She was crying, but the fire hadn't touched her. Zara's voice sounded strange in her own ears, distant, like someone else was speaking. The note said she belongs to you, that I had to deliver her before dawn or die. So here. Take her. I've done what it asked. She tried to hand over the car seat, but the baby's fingers were still locked around her thumb, and when Zara tried to pull away, the grip tightened. Painfully. The baby's eyes locked on hers, and Zara saw another flash. This man, Min-jae, holding a woman's hand as she bled out. The woman whispering, "Promise me you'll find another way. Promise me you won't die alone." Him making a promise he couldn't keep. "She won't let go of you," Min-jae said quietly. That means the underworld chose you for more than delivery. Chose me for what? To help me keep her alive. He finally met Zara's gaze, and she saw desperation there, raw and unhidden. The note mentioned the rule, didn't it? She can't cry between midnight and dawn, or the underworld reclaims her. I can't do that alone. No one can. Babies cry. That's what they do. But if she chose you as witness, it means you're part of the contract now. I didn't sign anything. You picked her up. You brought her here. That's signature enough for the underworld. His voice dropped. I know this is insane. I know you have no reason to help me. But I'm begging you, stay. Just until dawn. Help me keep her quiet for 4 more hours, and I'll pay you anything you want. Name your price. Zara looked at the baby, who was watching this entire exchange with unnerving focus, and realized she couldn't walk away. Not because of money. Because the moment she'd pulled this child from fire, something had changed. She'd been marked. Chosen. Whether she wanted it or not. What's her name? Zara asked. I don't know yet. Minjae's thumb brushed the baby's cheek, and his expression softened. I was going to name her after my mother. Haewon. Graceful garden. Haewon. Zara tested the name, and the baby's grip loosened slightly. Okay. I'll stay until dawn. But after that I'm gone. I didn't ask for this. Neither did I. Minjae's smile was bitter. Welcome to the contract. He led her inside, and Zara's last thought before crossing the threshold was that she should have run when she had the chance. The estate's interior was a mausoleum, marble floors, vaulted ceilings, and silence so thick it pressed against her eardrums. Minjae carried Haewon up 3 flights of stairs to a nursery that looked like it had been waiting. Crib, changing table, rocking chair. Everything ready. Like he'd known she was coming. How long have you been preparing for this? Zara asked. 10 years. He laid Haewon in the crib with a gentleness that didn't match the blood on his collar. The shaman who performed the ritual said the underworld would deliver an heir when it was ready. Not before. I've been waiting. Hoping. Thinking I'd failed. His voice cracked. Then tonight she arrived. In a burning car. The underworld has a sense of drama. He checked his watch. 3:15 a.m. 2 hours 45 minutes until dawn. If we can keep her from crying until then, the first night is over. Only 119 more to go. Zara's stomach dropped. 119 nights. The contract expires March 15th. 4 months from now. If we follow the rule perfectly, not a single cry between midnight and dawn for 120 nights, she becomes fully human. Ours to keep. If we break the rule even once. He didn't finish. Didn't need to. Haewon made a sound, soft testing, and both of them froze. Not a cry. Just a coo. But it was 3:16 a.m., deep in the forbidden window, and every sound felt like a countdown to disaster. Why can't she cry at night? Zara whispered. Because that's when the underworld is listening. Minjae sank into the rocking chair. Exhaustion written across every line of his face. Daytime, she's ours. Nighttime, she still belongs to them. Crying is how they know she's ready to come back. It's a signal. An invitation. That's insane. That's the price. His eyes were hollow. I offered my remaining years in exchange for an heir. The underworld accepted, but on its terms. The child would be mine, but only if I could prove I deserved her. 120 nights without breaking the rule. It's a test. When I'm probably going to fail. Why did you make the deal in the first place? Minjae was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. My family is cursed. Every Choi man for 6 generations has died at 40, without an heir. Heart attacks, all of them. My father, grandfather, uncles, dead before they could pass on the name. I'm 38. I have 2 years left. My wife tried to give me a son, but she died in labor, and the baby died with her. I buried them together and thought that was the end. He looked at Haewon, and something like hope flickered across his face. Then I found a shaman who deals in blood magic. She said the underworld might grant me a second chance if I was willing to pay. So I paid. And I've been waiting for 10 years to see if it worked. And tonight Haewon arrived. Tonight you arrived. Minjae met her gaze. The underworld sent you to me for a reason. I don't believe in coincidence anymore. You were supposed to find her. You were supposed to bring her here. And I think you're supposed to help me keep her." Zara wanted to argue, but the baby's fingers were wrapped around her thumb again, warm and trusting, and she couldn't. "I don't know how to take care of a baby." "Neither do I." Minjae's laugh was broken. "But we have 2 hours to figure it out." They survived until dawn through sheer desperation. Zara holding Haewon, Minjae whispering lullabies in Korean, both of them moving in constant motion to keep her from fussing. At 5:43 a.m., Haewon's face scrunched up, mouth opening, and Zara's heart stopped. She was going to cry. This was it. Game over. Minjae started singing, soft broken, in a voice that shook, and Haewon's mouth closed. Her eyes drifted shut. She slept. 6:02 a.m. Dawn broke. The forbidden window closed. They'd survived night 1. Minjae collapsed against the wall, and Zara saw tears on his face. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." Zara looked at Haewon, sleeping peacefully, and knew she wasn't leaving. Not at dawn. Not ever. Something had changed when she pulled this baby from fire. She'd been chosen, marked, bound to a contract she didn't understand. "I'll stay," she said. "But I want answers. About the curse. About your wife. About why the underworld chose me. I'll tell you everything." Minjae wiped his face. "But first, we need to prepare. 119 nights left. And they're going to get harder." He had no idea how right he was. Welcome to Afro-Korean narratives, where the underworld doesn't negotiate and every choice has a price written in blood. If you're already hooked, smash that like button. If you think Zara just made the worst decision of her life, drop a comment. And if you want to survive the next 119 nights with us, subscribe and hit that bell. Because this story doesn't slow down, and the underworld is just getting started. Zara woke to screaming at 11:52 p.m. Not Haewon. Someone else. A woman's voice, shrieking from somewhere deep in the estate, and Zara bolted upright in the guest room bed, heart slamming against her ribs. She'd been here 3 days. 3 nights of surviving the forbidden window, learning Haewon's rhythms, and trying not to think about the 117 nights still ahead. But no one had mentioned screaming. She grabbed her phone, 11:52 p.m., 8 minutes until midnight, and ran barefoot down the hallway toward the nursery. Minjae was already there, standing frozen in the doorway, and when Zara looked past him, her blood turned to ice. A woman stood over Haewon's crib, Korean beautiful, wearing a white dress soaked in blood. Her hair hung in wet tangles around her face, and her hands, God, her hands, were pressed against the crib's bars, fingers leaving bloody prints on white paint. She was staring at Haewon with a hunger that made Zara's skin crawl. "Get away from her." Minjae's voice was deadly quiet. "You're dead. You can't be here." The woman's head turned, slow and deliberate, and when she smiled, Zara saw her teeth were black. "Rotted. I made my own bargain, husband. Did you think the underworld only deals with the living?" G1. Minjae stepped into the room, positioning himself between the ghost and the crib. "You died 10 years ago. I buried you. This isn't real. I died giving you an heir, and you replaced me with this." G1's hand swept toward Haewon, and the baby's eyes opened, tracking the movement. A supernatural thing. Not even human. "And now you've brought another woman into my house to play mother." Zara's throat closed. This was Minjae's dead wife. The woman who died in childbirth, the one from the visions Haewon had shown her. "She's not playing," Minjae said. "Zara's helping me keep Haewon alive. That's all." "Liar." Ji-won's voice dropped to a hiss. "I've been watching. I see how you look at her. How she holds my daughter. Haewon isn't yours." Minjae's hands clenched into fists. "You died before she was born. The baby you were carrying died with you. Haewon came from the underworld, not from you. Because you wished her into existence." Ji-won moved closer, and Zara could smell her now, rot and incense and wet earth. "You bargained for an heir, and the underworld took my death as payment. It used my body, my womb, my soul to create her. She's mine. And on March 15th, when the contract ends, I'm taking her back." The clock struck midnight. The forbidden window opened. And Hae-won started to cry. Not a whimper. Not a fuss. Full-throated wails that echoed off the nursery walls. And Zara watched in horror as frost crawled across the windows, as the temperature dropped 20 degrees in seconds, as Ji-won's smile widened into something inhuman. Too late, the ghost whispered. She's crying. The underworld hears. And now it comes to collect. Min-jae lunged for the crib, but Ji-won was faster. She reached through the bars, her bloody hands closing around Hae-won's tiny body, and the baby's cries escalated into shrieks. Zara didn't think. She grabbed the first thing she could reach, a heavy glass vase from the dresser, and hurled it at Ji-won's head. It passed through her like she was made of smoke. You can't touch me, Ji-won said, laughing. I'm already dead. But Hae-won could. The baby's hand shot out, impossibly fast, and her fingers wrapped around Ji-won's wrist. Where they touched, Ji-won's skin began to burn, smoke rising, flesh blackening, and the ghost screamed, jerking back. Hae-won's cries stopped instantly. She stared at Ji-won with those dark, knowing eyes, and for the first time, Zara saw the truth. Hae-won wasn't helpless. She was dangerous. She's underworld-born, Min-jae said, voice shaking. You can't take her, Ji-won. She's protected by the same forces that created her. Ji-won cradled her burned wrist, and her expression twisted into pure hatred. Then I'll take the woman instead. She's human, breakable, and when she's gone, you'll have no one to help you survive the nights. She lunged for Zara. Min-jae threw himself between them, and Ji-won's hand plunged into his chest, not physically, but through him, like she was reaching inside his body. He gasped, knees buckling, and Zara saw his lips turn blue, saw ice spreading across his skin from where Ji-won touched him. Stop! Zara screamed. You're killing him. He killed me first. Ji-won's voice was almost gentle. Childbirth, remember? I bled out on this floor while he begged me not to go. Fair trade, don't you think? Zara grabbed Hae-won from the crib and held her up like a weapon. If you kill him, she'll kill you. Look at your wrist. She burned you just by touching you. Imagine what she'd do if I asked her to. It was a bluff. Hae-won was 3 months old. She couldn't understand commands. But Ji-won didn't know that, and the ghost's hand withdrew from Min-jae's chest, leaving him gasping on the floor. You think you can threaten me? Ji-won hissed. I think you're scared of her, Zara shot back. You want to take her back to the underworld, but you can't touch her without getting hurt. That's why you're trying to kill us instead. Because if we survive 120 nights, she becomes human, and you lose her forever. Ji-won's eyes narrowed. Clever girl. But you can't stay awake for 4 months. You'll slip eventually. You'll break the rule. And when you do, I'll be waiting. She vanished. No dramatic exit. Just gone, like she'd never been there. And the temperature returned to normal. Zara dropped to her knees beside Min-jae, Hae-won still in her arms, and pressed her hand to his chest. His heartbeat was erratic, too fast, and his skin was cold as ice. Are you okay? Her voice cracked. No. He coughed, and blood flecked his lips. But I'm alive. That's more than I expected. Zara helped him to the rocking chair, and he collapsed into it, shaking. Hae-won had gone quiet again, watching them both with those unnerving eyes, and Zara realized the baby had stopped crying the moment Ji-won touched her, like she'd been waiting for an excuse to hurt the ghost. Your wife made a deal with the underworld, Zara said. Didn't she? Min-jae nodded weakly. When she was dying, she begged for more time, just enough to deliver the baby. The underworld agreed, but the price was her soul. She gave birth. The baby died anyway, and she followed an hour later. I didn't know she'd bargained until tonight. And now she wants Hae-won. She thinks Hae-won is the baby she lost, reincarnated or reshaped or something. Min-jae's hands were still shaking. But she's wrong. Hae-won came from my bargain, not hers. The underworld used Ji-won's death as raw material, but Hae-won isn't her. She's mine. And mine, Zara added quietly. The moment I picked her up, I became part of this. Min-jae looked at her, and something shifted in his expression. Gratitude, maybe, or recognition. You saved my life tonight. Hae-won saved your life. I just held her up. You stayed when anyone else would have run. His voice dropped. Why? Zara looked at Hae-won, who stared back with eyes that held too much knowledge for a baby. and realized she didn't have a good answer. Because she chose me. And I don't abandon things that need me. Even supernatural things that might get you killed? Especially those. Zara's smile was grim. Besides, I've got nowhere else to go. My apartment burned down 3 days ago, remember? This is it. This is my life now. Min-jae laughed, broken, exhausted. And Haewon made a soft sound, almost like she was laughing too. For a moment, in the quiet nursery with Dawn still hours away, they felt like a family. A deeply fucked up, cursed, probably doomed family. But a family nonetheless. Then Zara's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. Ji-won isn't the only ghost that wants the child. We're coming for her at the next new moon. 3 weeks. Prepare or die. The forgotten ones. Zara showed Min-jae the screen, and watched all color drain from his face. Who are the forgotten ones, she asked. Every person who ever made a deal with the underworld and failed. His voice was hollow. They're trapped between life and death, and they hate anyone who might succeed where they didn't. If they're coming in 3 weeks. We need to be ready. We need to run. Min-jae stood, still unsteady, and grabbed Haewon from Zara's arms. There's a safe house. North of the city. Protected. We leave at dawn. What about your business? Your enemies? Fuck my enemies. His eyes were wild. If the forgotten ones breach this house, we're all dead. Haewon, you me everyone. I won't risk it. Zara wanted to argue, but she'd seen what Ji-won could do. If an army of ghosts like her descended on the estate, no amount of salt lines or iron fixtures would stop them. Okay, she said. We run. But what happens after 3 weeks? They'll find us eventually. Then we find a way to break the contract before they do. Min-jae's jaw set. The shaman who performed the ritual, she's still alive. If anyone knows how to end this early, it's her. You said the underworld doesn't renegotiate. It doesn't. But every contract has loopholes. He looked at Haewon, and his expression softened. I've got 117 nights to find one. Starting now. They fled at dawn, throwing supplies into Min-jae's car and driving north while Haewon slept peacefully in her car seat, oblivious to the chaos. Zara watched the estate disappear in the rearview mirror, and wondered if she'd ever see it again. Probably not. The underworld didn't let people walk away. It took what it was owed. And Zara had a sinking feeling they were all on borrowed time. The shaman's shop smelled like death and ginger. Zara stood in the doorway, Haewon strapped to her chest in a baby carrier, while Min-jae negotiated with the old woman behind the counter. They'd been here 20 minutes, and the shaman, Madame Kwon, she'd said, hadn't stopped staring at Haewon since they walked in. She's strong, Kwon said in Korean, and Zara's limited vocabulary caught the gist. Stronger than you expected. Is there a way to break the contract early? Min-jae's voice was tight. Before March 15th? Kwon's laugh was dry as bones. You want to cheat the underworld? Boy, you really haven't learned. I learned that deals with ancient forces end badly. That's why I'm here. Min-jae leaned across the counter. You performed the ritual. You said the underworld would grant me an heir if I paid the price. I paid. But you didn't mention ghosts or forbidden windows or... I mentioned consequences. Kwon's eyes were sharp. You didn't listen. No one ever does. Then help me now. Kwon was quiet for a long moment, her gaze drifting to Haewon. The baby stared back, unblinking, and Zara felt that familiar heat building where Haewon's body pressed against hers. A vision was coming. She'd learned to recognize the signs. It hit like a freight train. Kwon younger, kneeling before the same altar Min-jae had used. Offering her own blood. Whispering, "Give me back my daughter. I'll trade anything." A voice ancient and inhuman. "Your daughter is gone. But we can give you power to save others. For a price." Kwon's scream. "What price?" The voice. "You'll broker our deals. Forever. And everyone you help will owe us a piece of their soul. Including you." The vision shattered and Zara gasped, stumbling. Min-jae caught her arm, steadying her, and Kwon's expression went carefully blank. "She showed you," the shaman said. "Not a question." "You lost a daughter," Zara whispered. "You made a deal to save her, but it didn't work. So you became the underworld's broker instead." Kwan's hands clenched. That child sees too much. She sees the truth. Zara's voice hardened. You've been trapping people in contracts for decades because the underworld owns you. How many families have you destroyed? I give people what they ask for. Kwan's voice was cold. Not my fault they don't read the fine print. There is no fine print with the underworld, Min-jae snapped. Just vague promises and impossible rules. You knew my contract would fail. You sent me into this knowing I'd probably lose Haewon in 4 months. I sent you into it knowing you'd try. Kwan's gaze softened just slightly. Most people don't even try. They take the easy path, accept their fate. You're still fighting. That means something. It means I'm desperate. Min-jae's voice cracked. Help me, please. Kwan studied him for a long moment, then sighed. There's one loophole. One way to break the contract early without losing the child. Zara's heart leaped. What is it? The underworld's contracts are bound by blood. Yours specifically. Kwan pointed at Min-jae. You offered your remaining years as payment. But if someone else offers a greater sacrifice, someone with more years left, more vitality, more life force, the underworld might accept the trade. A substitution, Min-jae said slowly. Someone else takes my place in the contract. Exactly. But it has to be willing. And it has to be someone the underworld values. Kwan's eyes slid to Zara. Someone like her. The room went silent. Zara felt Min-jae's gaze on her, heavy and horrified, but she couldn't look away from Kwan. You want me to trade my life for his? Not your life. Your years. Kwan leaned forward. You're what, 28? 30? You've got 50 years left, maybe more. Min-jae has 2. If you offer those 50 years to the underworld in exchange for Haewon becoming human now, they might accept. The contract ends early, the child is freed, and Min-jae doesn't have to survive 117 more nights. And I die at 30 instead of 80. You die having saved a child's life. Kwan's voice was almost gentle. The underworld respects sacrifice. It's the only currency it values more than blood. No. Min-jae's voice was flat. Absolutely not. I won't let Zara. It's not your choice, Zara interrupted, still staring at Kwan. If I wanted to make the trade, I could. Right. Kwan pulled a small knife from beneath the counter. Cut your palm, speak the words I give you, and the trade is done. Haewon becomes human at sunrise. The contract ends. You live 2 more years, then the underworld collects. 2 years. Zara looked at Haewon, who was watching this entire exchange with those knowing eyes, and felt that heat again. The connection, the bond, the certainty that this child needed her. She thought about 117 more nights of forbidden windows, of ghosts trying to steal Haewon, of Min-jae slowly dying from the curse while they both fought to keep a baby from crying. 2 years of peace versus 4 months of hell. It was almost tempting. No, Min-jae said again, and this time he grabbed Zara's shoulders, forcing her to look at him. You are not doing this. I won't allow it. You don't own me, Zara shot back. I can make my own choices. Not this one. Not when it costs you 50 years. It costs me 50 years I'd spend alone anyway. Her voice cracked. I don't have family, Min-jae. I don't have anyone. At least this way, my life would mean something. I'd save Haewon. I'd save you. By killing yourself. By choosing how I die. Zara pulled away from him. Isn't that better than waiting for your father's debts to catch up with me? Better than living in fear. Min-jae's expression shattered. You think I'd let you die for me? I think you don't have a choice. She reached for the knife. Haewon screamed. Not the forbidden window cry. It was barely noon, hours until midnight, but a full-throated shriek of rage that made every glass object in the shop rattle. Zara froze, hand hovering over the blade, and looked down at the baby. Haewon's eyes had gone completely black. No whites, no irises. Just endless void, and in that void, Zara saw something move. Something ancient and angry. She's rejecting the trade, Kwan whispered, backing away. The child doesn't want you to sacrifice yourself. She's 3 months old, Min-jae said desperately. She can't understand. She's underworld-born. She understands everything. Kwan's voice was shaking. And she's telling you no. If you take that knife, if you make that trade, she'll tear this building apart. I've seen it before. Children born from blood magic. They're protective of the people who love them. And she loves you. Zara stared at Haewon, whose tiny fists were clenched, whose entire body was rigid with fury, and felt tears burning her eyes. You don't want me to die. Haewon's scream cut off. Her eyes returned to normal, dark human Min-jae's eyes, and she reached up with one small hand, fingers brushing Zara's cheek. The touch was gentle, pleading. Don't leave me. Zara broke. She pulled Haewon from the carrier, held her close, and sobbed into the baby's soft hair while Min-jae's hand found her back, steadying her. Kwon watched them with something that might have been pity. There's no easy way out, the shaman said quietly. The underworld doesn't give those. You survive the 117 nights, or you lose everything. That's the deal. Then we survive, Min-jae said, and his voice was steel. All of us. Together. Kwon nodded slowly. Then you'll need protection. Real protection, not just salt lines. She disappeared into the back room, returning with a small wooden box. Inside, 3 red cords woven with symbols Zara didn't recognize. Tie these around your wrists. They're blessed. Not powerful enough to stop the underworld, but enough to slow it down. Give you a few extra seconds when you need them. Min-jae took the cords, and Zara watched as he tied one around his wrist, then hers, then carefully, gently. Around Haewon's tiny ankle. The baby cooed, fingers playing with the red thread. One more thing, Kwon said. The forgotten ones you mentioned, they're coming at the new moon. 3 weeks from now. You'll need allies. What kind of allies fight ghosts? Zara asked. The kind who owe me favors. Kwon pulled out her phone, scrolling through contacts. There's a group. Exorcists, shamans, people who've survived underworld contracts before. They don't work cheap, but they work. I can make introductions. Do it, Min-jae said immediately. Kwon nodded, already dialing. Meet them at the old temple in Gangnam. Tomorrow midnight. And bring the child. They'll need to see what they're protecting. They left the shop an hour later, Haewon asleep against Zara's chest, the red cord bright against her brown skin. Min-jae drove in silence, jaw tight, and Zara knew he was replaying the moment she'd reached for the knife. I wasn't really going to do it, she said quietly. You were thinking about it. His hands clenched on the steering wheel. I saw your face. I was thinking it would be easier. For everyone. Easier for who? Min-jae's voice cracked. Not for me. Not for Haewon. We need you, Zara. Don't you get that? She didn't answer, because the truth was complicated. She did get it. But she also knew that love, and this was becoming love, whether she wanted it or not, made people do stupid things. Like offer 50 years to save a baby who'd been in their life for less than a week. Promise me, Min-jae said. Promise you won't make any more deals without asking me first. Zara looked at Haewon, peaceful in sleep, and felt that protective surge again. I promise. But you have to promise me something too. What? That you'll fight. No matter how hard it gets. No giving up. Min-jae's expression softened. I promise. They drove the rest of the way in comfortable silence, and Zara let herself imagine, just for a moment, that they might actually survive this. That 117 nights from now, Haewon would be human. The curse would be broken, and they'd be a real family. It was a nice dream. But the underworld didn't care about dreams. It only cared about blood. And Zara had a feeling they'd all be bleeding before this was over. The temple was older than Seoul itself. Zara could feel it the moment they crossed the threshold. A weight in the air, history pressing down like physical force. Min-jae led the way, Haewon strapped to his chest now, and Zara followed close behind, one hand on the knife she'd started carrying everywhere. Midnight. The new moon was still 2 weeks away, but Kwon's contacts had insisted on meeting tonight. Need to assess the situation, one of them had said over the phone. Need to see if the child's worth dying for. Zara had almost hung up, but Min-jae had stopped her, his expression grim. We need allies. Even assholes. So here they were. The main hall was lit by candles, dozens of them, casting shadows that moved wrong. Too slow, too deliberate. At the center of the room stood 3 people. A woman in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, wearing traditional hanbok. Her eyes were milky white blind, but Zara had the unsettling feeling she could see more than anyone else in the room. A man in his 30s, covered in tattoos that looked like protection symbols, carrying enough weapons to fight a small war. And a boy, he couldn't have been more than 19, with a face too pretty for the hard look in his eyes. "You're late," the blind woman said in perfect English. "I'm Madam Song. This is Jay," she gestured to the tattooed man, "and Kong. The boy. We're what's left of the last group that survived an underworld contract." "Barely. Quan said you could help us," Min-jae said. "Quan says a lot of things." Song stepped forward, and despite her blindness, she moved with absolute confidence. "Let me see the child." Min-jae hesitated, then carefully unstrapped Haewon from the carrier. The baby was awake, watching everything with those dark eyes. And when Song's hands reached out, Haewon didn't flinch. She let the old woman's fingers trace her face, her hands, the red cord around her ankle. Song went very still. "This child is dangerous," she said finally. "More dangerous than Quan told us." "She's a baby," Zara protested. "She's an underworld weapon wearing a baby's skin." Song pulled her hands back. "I can feel the power in her. Old magic. The kind that doesn't die, doesn't sleep. The kind that waits. And when March 15th comes, if you haven't kept the rule perfectly, she'll tear a hole between this world and the next." Zara's blood went cold. "What does that mean?" "It means the underworld didn't just give you a child." Song's voice was hard. "It gave you a bomb with a 4-month timer. And if that bomb goes off, everyone in this city dies." Min-jae's face had gone white. "Quan never mentioned. Quan doesn't know everything." Jae stepped forward, arms crossed. "We've seen this before. 10 years ago, another family made a similar deal. Got a child from the underworld with the same rule. No crying between midnight and dawn. They failed on night 83. The child imploded, took the whole house with her, and opened a rift that let through every ghost in the underworld for 3 days. 40 people died before we could seal it." "40 people," Zara whispered. "And you're just now telling us this? You're just now asking for help." Kong spoke for the first time, his voice younger than his eyes. "Most people don't. They think they can handle it alone. Then they die, and we clean up the mess." Min-jae was shaking. "So if we fail, if Haewon cries even once between midnight and dawn, she doesn't just go back to the underworld. She destroys everything." "Yes." Song's expression was pitiless. "That's the real price. The underworld doesn't just want your years or your blood. It wants leverage. And Haewon is the ultimate leverage. Keep her alive and quiet for 120 nights. She becomes human and the rift never opens. Fail even once and the city burns." Zara looked at Haewon, who stared back with those knowing eyes and felt sick. Does she know what she is? She knows. Song's voice softened slightly. "But she's not evil. Just designed for a purpose. Whether that purpose is salvation or destruction depends on you." "Then we don't fail." Min-jae's voice was steel. "We survive all 120 nights. Haewon becomes human, and the underworld gets nothing." "Noble." Jae's laugh was bitter, but statistically impossible. "The longest anyone's ever lasted is 97 nights. You're on night 12. You've got 108 to go. And every night gets harder. The forgotten ones at the new moon are just the beginning. After that comes the Watchers, the Bone Collectors, the Sleepless. Every nightmare the underworld can send to make that baby cry." "We'll fight them all," Zara said, and she was surprised by how steady her voice sounded. "Whatever it takes." Song tilted her head, blind eyes somehow finding Zara's face. "You love this child already." "Yes. Even knowing what she is? What she could become. Especially knowing." Zara's hand found Haewon's tiny fingers, and the baby gripped tight. "She didn't choose this. None of us did. But we're here now, and I'm not letting her die. Or implode. Or whatever the underworld has planned." Song smiled small sad. "Then you'll need training. All of you. The Forgotten Ones attack in 2 weeks. That's not much time, but I can teach you the basics. How to fight ghosts, how to strengthen your defenses, how to survive when the underworld sends its worst." "What's the cost?" Min-jae asked warily. Kwon said you don't work cheap. The cost is your loyalty. Song's voice was hard. If we help you survive this, you owe us. And when the time comes, we'll collect. Deal. Zara looked at Min-jae, who looked at Haewon, who made a soft cooing sound that might have been agreement. Deal, Min-jae said. For the next 2 weeks, they lived at the temple. Song taught Zara how to draw protection circles, how to speak the old words that made ghosts hesitate, how to move through the forbidden window without making sound. Jae trained Min-jae in combat, not physical fighting, but the kind that worked on supernatural entities. Iron blades, salt bombs, prayers spoken fast enough to burn. And Kong watched Haewon. The boy never held her, never played with her, but he was always there. Observing. And one night, when Zara asked why, he said quietly, I was the last one. The other family's child. The one who imploded. Zara's heart stopped. You were an underworld child? I was supposed to be. Kang's eyes were hollow. My parents made the deal, got me from the underworld, failed on night 83. I should have imploded with the house. But Song pulled me out at the last second, broke the connection. I became human early, but I lost. He gestured vaguely at himself. Parts of myself. Memories. Emotions. I'm not fully here anymore. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm alive. He looked at Haewon, who was sleeping in her crib. She deserves that chance too. So I'm helping. Because no one helped me. Zara didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. The new moon arrived on a Tuesday. They were as ready as they'd ever be. Protection circles drawn in every room. Iron weapons within reach. Song and Jae and Kong stationed throughout the temple. Haewon was in the center of the main hall, surrounded by candles and salt, and Zara and Min-jae stood on either side of her crib waiting. Midnight hit. The candles blew out. And the forgotten ones came. They didn't knock. Didn't announce themselves. One moment the temple was empty, and the next it was full. Dozens of ghosts, maybe hundreds, filling every shadow, every corner. Men, women, children, all of them translucent and wrong, their eyes empty holes, their mouths open in silent screams. And they were all moving toward Haewon. Now, Song shouted, and Jae threw something. A small glass vial that shattered mid-air, releasing light so bright Zara had to shield her eyes. The ghosts shrieked, recoiling, but they didn't leave. Just regrouped, circling closer. Min-jae was already moving, iron blade in hand, slashing at the nearest ghost. It screamed, dissolving where the blade touched, but 3 more took its place. Zara grabbed her own blade, her hands shaking, and tried to remember Song's training. Don't hesitate. Don't look at their faces. Just cut. She cut. The ghost dissolved and another appeared. And another. They kept coming, endless, relentless, and Zara realized with growing horror that they couldn't win this. There were too many. Haewon started to fuss. Not crying, not yet, but the soft sounds that preceded it, and Zara's blood turned to ice. If Haewon cried now mid-attack, the rift would open immediately. The city would burn. Everyone would die. Sing. Kong shouted from across the room. Sing the lullaby, anything, just keep her calm. Zara didn't know any lullabies. Her childhood had been violence and silence, no songs, no comfort. But Min-jae did. He dropped his blade, scooped Haewon into his arms, and started singing, the same Korean lullaby he'd sung that first night, his voice shaking but steady. Haewon went quiet. The ghosts hesitated. And in that moment of hesitation, Song spoke a single word in a language Zara didn't recognize, and the temple exploded with light. Every ghost shrieked, dissolving into smoke, and when the light faded, the room was empty except for the 5 of them and Haewon. Silence. Is it over? Zara's voice was barely a whisper. For tonight. Song was leaning heavily on Jae, exhausted. But they'll be back. The forgotten ones don't give up easily. How many nights until they try again? Min-jae asked, still holding Haewon. Every new moon until the contract ends. Song's expression was grim. 3 more times. And each time they'll bring more. Zara wanted to scream. Wanted to break something. But Haewon was safe, and they'd survived, and that had to be enough. We can handle it, she said, trying to sound confident. Song looked at her with those blind eyes and said very softly, I hope so. Because if you can't, this city dies. And it'll be on you. No pressure. They had 96 nights left. 3 new moons to survive. And Zara was starting to understand why no one had ever made it past 97. The underworld didn't play fair. It played to win. And losing meant everyone died. G1 came back on night 47. Zara woke to cold fingers wrapped around her throat, choking her, and when she opened her eyes, Min-jae's dead wife was straddling her chest, smiling with rotted teeth. "You're still here," Ji-won hissed. "I thought you'd be gone by now. Scared away like all the others." Zara couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. Her hands clawed at Ji-won's wrists, but they passed through like smoke, intangible, untouchable. The ghost was killing her, and there was nothing she could do. Then Haewon cried. Not a forbidden window cry. It was 2 a.m., deep in the danger zone, but a single furious wail that made the walls shake. Ji-won's grip loosened for just a second, and Zara threw herself sideways, gasping, crawling toward the crib where Haewon was screaming. The baby's eyes were black again, void dark, and she was staring at Ji-won with pure hatred. "You don't touch her," Zara rasped, her throat bruised. "You don't touch either of us." Ji-won laughed. "The child's crying. The underworld hears. In 30 seconds, they'll come to collect and you'll have failed. Game over." Zara grabbed Haewon, and the baby's cries cut off instantly. Her eyes returned to normal, and she reached up with one tiny hand, touching Zara's bruised throat. Where her fingers pressed, warmth spread, soothing the pain, and Zara felt something shift between them. Haewon was healing her. "She loves you," Ji-won said, and her voice was poisonous. "But love won't save you. It didn't save me." "You died because you made your own deal," Zara shot back. "You bargained with the underworld, and it took you. That's not love's fault. That's yours." Ji-won's expression twisted into fury. "I died giving Min-jae what he wanted. An heir. And he replaced me with you the moment I was gone." "He didn't replace you. You were already dead. And yet here you are, sleeping in his house, raising his child, playing wife." "I'm not." Zara stopped, because the truth was complicated. She wasn't Min-jae's wife, but she wasn't not his wife either. They'd been living together for 47 days, surviving the forbidden windows, moving through routines that felt domestic. Morning coffee, evening feedings, quiet conversations after Haewon slept. She'd started to forget that this was temporary, that when the contract ended, if they survived, she'd have to leave. "You're falling in love with him," Ji-won said, reading her face. "How pathetic." "If I am, it's none of your business." "It's absolutely my business. He's mine." "He's no one's." Zara stood, still holding Haewon. "You died." He mourned. He moved on. "That's life." Ji-won screamed, a sound that shattered every window in the room, and lunged again. But this time, Haewon was ready. The baby's hand shot out, and where it touched Ji-won's face, the ghost's skin burned, blackened, dissolved. Ji-won shrieked, stumbling back, and for the first time, Zara saw fear in her eyes. "She's getting stronger," the ghost whispered. "The closer you get to March 15th, the more powerful she becomes. By the end, she'll be unstoppable." "Good." Zara's voice was hard. "Then maybe you'll finally leave us alone." Ji-won vanished. No dramatic exit, just gone. And Zara sank to the floor, shaking. Haewon cooed softly, nuzzling against her chest. And Zara realized the baby had saved her twice now. First from the forgotten ones, now from Ji-won. Min-jae burst through the door, gun drawn, panic written across his face. "I heard screaming." "What happened?" "Ji-won." Zara's voice cracked. "She tried to kill me." Haewon stopped her. Min-jae's expression went from panic to rage in an instant. He crossed the room, sank down beside Zara, and his hands found her bruised throat, gentle and furious. "She hurt you." "I'm okay." Haewon healed it. He looked at the baby, whose eyes were closed now, sleeping peacefully, and something in his face softened. "She's protecting you. She's protecting both of us." Zara met his gaze. But Ji-won was right about one thing. Haewon's getting stronger. Every night, I feel it. The power in her. By March 15th she'll be dangerous. Min-jae's voice was quiet. "I know. Song warned me. But she'll also be human. If we survive, the power fades. She becomes just a normal child. Do you believe that? Min-jae hesitated. I have to, because if I don't, I'll go insane thinking about what she could become. They sat in silence for a long moment, Haewon asleep between them, and Zara realized how close they were. How Min-jae's hand was still on her throat, thumb brushing the bruise Ji-won had left. How his eyes were tracking her face like he was memorizing every detail. Ji-won thinks I'm falling in love with you, Zara said quietly. Min-jae went very still. Are you? I don't know. It was the truth. I know I trust you. I know I'd die for Haewon. But love? I'm not sure I even know what that feels like anymore. Neither do I. His hand dropped from her throat, but he didn't move away. I love Ji-won. But she's been gone for 10 years, and I've been alone so long I forgot what it feels like to have someone care if I live or die. Ikare. I know. His voice was rough. That's the problem. Why is that a problem? Because if you care, you'll do stupid things. Like offering 50 years to save me. Like staying when you should run. Like, he stopped, jaw clenching. Like making me hope there's something after March 15th. A life. A future. And I can't afford hope, Zara. Not when I'm dying in 2 years anyway. What if we break the curse? Zara asked. Song said there's always a loophole. What if we find it? Then I'd have a reason to live. Min-jae's eyes were too bright. But until then we can't. Zara kissed him. Not planned. Not thought through. Just a sudden, desperate need to prove that hope wasn't dead. That they could have something beyond survival. His mouth was warm, his hands finding her face, and for 5 perfect seconds, they forgot about the underworld and the curse and the 73 nights still ahead. Then Haewon made a sound, not a cry, just a soft coo of approval, and they broke apart, laughing shakily. Well, Min-jae said. That was stupid, Zara finished. But I don't regret it. Neither do I. He stood, offering his hand, and pulled her up. But we should probably focus on surviving before we plan our wedding. Who said anything about a wedding? Ji-won did. She called you my wife. She's delusional. Probably. Min-jae's smile was soft. But maybe she's not entirely wrong. They spent the rest of the night on the floor beside Haewon's crib, not sleeping, just existing together, and when dawn broke, Zara felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. It wouldn't last. But for now it was enough. On night 63 they found the loophole. Song had been digging through ancient texts for weeks, and she finally called them to the temple with urgency in her voice. When they arrived, Haewon asleep in her carrier, Min-jae's hand tight on Zara's. The old woman was surrounded by books, her blind eyes somehow reading pages through touch alone. I found it, Song said without preamble. The way to break the curse. But you're not going to like it. Tell us anyway, Min-jae said. Song's fingers traced a page, and she read aloud. A life for a life. A death for a death. The curse line ends when the cursed one dies, or when another takes their place. That's the same substitution Kwon offered, Zara protested. We already rejected it. Not quite. Song looked up, her milky eyes somehow finding Min-jae. Kwon's version required a willing sacrifice, someone offering their years for yours. But there's another way. If the underworld receives a death that satisfies the curse's original requirement, a Choi man dying without an heir, then the curse considers itself fulfilled. You want me to die, Min-jae said flatly. I want you to fake your death. Song's smile was grim. The curse doesn't care about biology. It cares about perception. If the underworld believes you died without an heir, it'll release its hold. The curse ends. Haewon becomes human immediately. And you're free. But I have Haewon, Min-jae argued. She's my heir. The curse should already consider itself broken. Not until March 15th. Song's voice was patient. Until then, she's still underworld property. Not technically your heir, just a borrowed child. But if you die before she becomes human, the curse thinks it won. It ends. And Haewon transitions to human anyway, because she has no parent to return to. Zara's heart was pounding. So Min-jae fakes his death, the curse ends, Haewon becomes human, and then what? He can't stay dead forever. 6 months. Song held up a talisman, black jade carved with symbols. This will mask your life force for 6 months. To the underworld, you'll appear dead. The curse will end, Haewon will transition, and after 6 months, you can resurrect without consequence. What's the catch? Min-jae's voice was suspicious. The catch is that for 6 months, you'll be as good as dead. No heartbeat the underworld can detect, no aura, nothing. You'll be in a coma-like state. And Zara will have to care for Haewon alone until you wake. Zara looked at Min-jae, whose expression had gone carefully blank. 6 months without you. 6 months of safety. His voice was steady. No more forbidden windows. No more ghosts. Haewon becomes human, and you're both free of this nightmare. But you're in a coma. Better than dying for real. He turned to Song. When do we do this? Before the next new moon. 11 days from now. Song set down the talisman. I'll prepare the ritual. But Min-jae, you need to understand. There's a chance you won't wake up. The talisman is powerful, but it's not perfect. Especially with the underworld involved. It might decide to keep you dead. I'll take that risk. Min-jae, Zara started but he cut her off. Zara, we have 57 nights left. 57 more chances for something to go wrong, for Haewon to cry, for the rift to open. I can end this in 11 days. Save both of you. Why wouldn't I? Because I need you, Zara wanted to say. Because 6 months alone with a baby sounds impossible. Because I'm terrified of losing you even temporarily. But she didn't say any of that. Instead she nodded. Okay, 11 days. They spent those 11 days preparing. Min-jae made arrangements. Transferred money. Secured the safe house in Zara's name. Wrote letters to be opened if he didn't wake up. Zara tried not to think about those letters. Tried not to imagine a world where Min-jae stayed dead. On the 10th day, Haewon started talking. Not babbling. Real words. In Korean. Appa, she said, looking straight at Min-jae. Father. He froze, tears streaming down his face. Did she just? She's bonding before you go, Song said quietly. She'd come to help with final preparations. Underworld children know when change is coming. She's marking you as hers before the ritual. Min-jae picked up Haewon, holding her close, and whispered something in Korean that Zara didn't catch. But Haewon smiled, a real human smile, and said it again, Appa. Zara's heart broke. The 11th day arrived. Song set up the ritual in the temple's main hall. Candles, salt circles, the black jade talisman at the center. Min-jae lay down inside the circle, and Zara knelt beside him, Haewon in her lap. Last chance to change your mind, Song said. I'm sure. Min-jae looked at Zara. Take care of her. I will. And take care of yourself. Min-jae. I love you, he said, and the words hung in the air between them. I don't know when it happened, but I do. And I needed to say it before I. Don't. Zara's voice cracked. Don't say goodbye. Say see you soon. His smile was soft. See you soon. Song began the ritual. She spoke in that ancient language Zara didn't understand. And the candles flared bright, then dim, then out. The temperature dropped. Min-jae's eyes closed. His chest stopped moving. And the talisman around his neck began to glow. Zara waited for him to wake up. To sit up and say it hadn't worked. But he didn't. He just lay there, lifeless, and Song pressed her fingers to his throat, checking for a pulse she wouldn't find. It's done, the old woman said. To the underworld, he's dead. The curse is breaking. Zara looked at Haewon, who was staring at Min-jae's body with those knowing eyes, and watched as the baby's skin began to change. The slight translucence that had always been there, so subtle most people missed it, solidified, became opaque. Human. The transition was happening. Is he really gone? Zara whispered. For 6 months. Song's hand found her shoulder. But his heart still beats, just too quietly for the underworld to hear. He's alive, Zara. Just sleeping. And if he doesn't wake up in 6 months? Song didn't answer, and Zara knew the truth. If Min-jae didn't wake up, she'd be raising Haewon alone. Forever. She looked at the man she loved, lying dead but not dead in a circle of salt, and made a promise. I'll keep her safe, she whispered. And I'll be waiting when you come back. Then she picked up Haewon, her daughter now, in every way that mattered, and walked out of the temple into dawn. Behind her, Min-jae lay silent. Ahead of her, 6 months stretched like an eternity. But Haewon was human. The curse was broken. And the underworld had lost. For now, month 1 without Min-jae was hell. Haewon cried constantly, not forbidden window cries, because those rules didn't apply anymore, but the normal wails of a baby who missed her father. Zara tried everything. Bottles, songs, rocking her for hours. Nothing worked. Haewon would look at the empty space where Min-jae used to stand and scream. Appa, she'd sob. Appa, appa, appa. And Zara would hold her, crying too, because she missed him just as badly. Month 2, Haewon stopped crying. But she also stopped talking. Stopped smiling. She'd eat when Zara fed her, sleep when put down. But the light had gone out of her eyes. Song visited once, took one look at the baby, and said grimly, she's grieving. Children born from magic grieve differently than human ones. It's deeper. More dangerous. Dangerous how? She might will herself to die. Song's voice was gentle. I've seen it before. The bond between underworld-born children and their chosen parents is sacred. When that bond breaks, even temporarily, some children just fade. No. Zara's voice was steel. She's not dying. I won't let her. But month 3 proved Song right. Haewon stopped eating. Stopped sleeping. Her skin went gray, her breathing shallow, and no matter what Zara did, the baby was fading. Zara called Song in a panic, and the old woman came immediately, bringing Jae and Kong. She needs Min-jae, Song said after examining Haewon. Not metaphorically. Literally. The bond is killing her because it's incomplete. Then wake him up. Zara shouted. The curse is broken. Haewon's human. Why does he have to stay under for 6 months? Because the underworld is watching, Kong said quietly. If Min-jae wakes too early, it'll know the death was fake. The curse will reactivate, Haewon will revert to underworld property, and you'll have failed. Completely. Zara wanted to scream. So what do I do? Watch her die. No. Song pulled out a vial of something dark and viscous. You share Min-jae's life force with her. How? Drink this. Then hold Haewon against your chest, skin to skin, and focus on Min-jae. Remember him. His voice, his face, his presence. The talisman around his neck holds his life force. This potion will let you tap into it, channel it to Haewon. It won't be as strong as if he were awake, but it might be enough to keep her alive. Zara didn't hesitate. She drank. The potion tasted like copper and ash, and the moment it hit her stomach, she felt it, a thread connecting her to Min-jae, thin but real. She stripped off her shirt, laid Haewon against her chest, and reached through that thread. And she found him. Not awake. Not conscious. But present. His heartbeat, slow and steady. His warmth. His love, God. So much love, pouring through the bond like sunlight. Zara grabbed that love, pulled it into herself, and pushed it into Haewon. The baby gasped. Her eyes opened, Min-jae's eyes dark and alive, and she whispered, Appa? He's here, Zara whispered back, tears streaming. He's still here. Can you feel him? Haewon's tiny hand pressed against Zara's chest, right over her heart, and she nodded. Appa. From that moment, Haewon started to heal. She still missed Min-jae. Still asked for him every day. But the life force Zara channeled kept her alive, kept her human, kept her here. And slowly, month by month, Haewon started to smile again. Started to play. Started to become the child she was always meant to be. Month 5, Ji-won appeared one last time. Zara was feeding Haewon in the kitchen when the ghost materialized across the table, no longer rotted, no longer angry, just sad. He's not dead, Ji-won said quietly. I can feel it. The curse didn't take him. No. Zara didn't stop feeding Haewon. He faked his death, broke the curse, and in 1 month he wakes up. Ji-won was silent for a long moment. Then, you love him? Yes. And he loves you? Yes. Then I'm glad. Ji-won's smile was soft, broken. I loved him too, but I loved him when he was a different person, living a different life. The man he is now, the one who bargained with the underworld to save his family line, Who raised this child? Who chose you? That's not the man I married. That's someone new. And he deserves happiness. What does that mean? Zara's voice was wary. It means I'm letting go. Ji-won looked at Hae-won, who was watching the ghost with curious eyes. She's beautiful. Human. Everything I wanted my baby to be. Take care of her. I will. And take care of him. He's fragile, even if he pretends not to be. I know. Ji-won nodded. And then she was gone, not vanished, not fled. Released. Zara felt the moment it happened. The thread between the living and dead snapping clean. And she knew Ji-won had finally moved on. One ghost down. 1 month to go. On the final day of month 6, Zara brought Hae-won to the temple. Song had Min-jae's body laid out in the same circle where they'd performed the ritual, and the black jade talisman was still glowing softly around his neck. Hae-won squirmed in Zara's arms, reaching for him, whispering "Appa Appa," with desperate hope. It's time, Song said, and she began the reversal ritual. The candles flared. The temperature spiked. And the talisman shattered. Min-jae gasped, eyes flying open, and Zara was moving before she could think, setting Hae-won down and dropping to her knees beside him. His hand found hers, grip weak but real, and he whispered, "Did it work?" "Yes." Zara's voice broke. "Hae-won's human. The curse is broken. You're free." "And you?" His thumb brushed her knuckles. "You stayed." "Of course I stayed." He pulled her down, kissing her like a man who'd been dead for 6 months and needed proof he was alive. And Hae-won made a delighted sound, "Appa," and crawled over to them, wrapping her tiny arms around both. They stayed like that for a long time, tangled together on the temple floor, a family rebuilt from blood and sacrifice and impossible choices. When they finally pulled apart, Min-jae looked at Hae-won and whispered, "Hi, baby girl." She grinned. Fully human, fully theirs. And for the first time in 6 months, Zara let herself believe it was over. The underworld had lost. They'd won. And now, finally, they could live. 3 months after Min-jae woke up, the underworld came to collect. They'd been living in the safe house, quiet, domestic, normal. Hae-won was walking now, babbling in Korean and English, calling Zara, "Iama," mother, without hesitation. Min-jae had proposed 2 weeks ago. A simple ring, a quiet question. Zara had said yes. Everything was perfect. Which should have been the first warning. The underworld doesn't accept defeat gracefully. It started with dreams. Zara would wake at 3 a.m., drenched in sweat, the taste of copper in her mouth. In the dreams, she was back in the burning car, pulling Hae-won from flames that never stopped. But this time, when she ran, the fire followed, consumed her. And she'd wake screaming. Min-jae had the same dreams. He'd jolt awake, reaching for Hae-won's crib, checking to make sure she was still breathing, still human, still theirs. And every morning, they'd pretend it was nothing. Just stress. Just memory. But Hae-won knew. "Bad man coming," she'd whisper, staring at shadows that moved wrong. "Bad man wants me back." "No one's taking you," Zara would promise, holding her close. "You're ours now." Except the underworld had other plans. It came on a Tuesday at midnight. Not the forbidden window anymore, because those rules were broken, but midnight nonetheless. Old habits die hard for ancient forces. Zara and Min-jae were asleep when every window in the safe house shattered simultaneously. They bolted awake, and Min-jae grabbed the gun from the nightstand, but when they ran to Hae-won's room, the baby was gone. The crib was empty, the window open, and on the wall, written in something dark and wet, "Contracts never end. They evolve." "No." Zara's voice was a broken whisper. "No, no, no." Min-jae was already moving, phone out, calling Song. The underworld took her. Hae-won's gone. Song's voice crackled through the speaker, sharp with alarm. "That's impossible. The contract expired. She's human. They can't." They did. Min-jae's hands were shaking. "What clause did we miss?" Silence. Then quietly, "The death clause. You faked your death to break the curse, but the underworld never formally acknowledged it. If it decides the death was fraudulent, the original contract reactivates, including the provision that Hae-won belongs to them." "How do we get her back?" "You don't." Song's voice was heavy. If the underworld has her, she's gone. Unless what? Unless you offer a trade. Something the underworld values more than one child. Something it can't refuse. Min-jae's expression went cold. My life. My real death. That's what it wants, isn't it? Yes. If you die, truly die. The underworld considers the original bargain fulfilled. Haewon goes free. Zara raises her. And you're gone. No. Zara grabbed his arm. Absolutely not. We're not trading you. Then what? Min-jae turned on her, desperate. What else does the underworld want? What else do we have? Zara's mind raced. They had money, but the underworld didn't care about that. They had weapons, protection, allies. All useless against an entity that existed outside reality. What did they have that an ancient force would value? Then she remembered. The bond, Zara whispered. Between Haewon and us. Song said it was sacred. Powerful. What if we offer that? Offer our love? Min-jae's voice was hollow. How? We sever it. Completely. Forget we ever knew her. Forget we loved her. And let the underworld keep the bond as payment. Haewon stays human, stays alive, but we don't remember her. She becomes someone else's problem. Min-jae stared at her like she'd lost her mind. You want to forget our daughter? I want her to live. Zara's voice cracked. Even if that means we don't get to be her parents. Even if we wake up tomorrow and don't remember she exists. At least she's alive. At least she's free. That's not freedom. That's abandonment. It's survival. They argued for 20 minutes, voices rising, until Song interrupted over the phone. You have 1 hour to decide. After that, the underworld closes the window for negotiation. Haewon stays theirs forever. 59 minutes. 58. 57. Zara looked at Min-jae, and she saw the same war in his eyes that raged in her chest. Love versus logic. Selfishness versus sacrifice. The chance to be parents versus the certainty of Haewon's freedom. What would she want? Zara asked quietly. If Haewon could choose, what would she pick? Min-jae closed his eyes. She'd want to be free. Even if it meant losing us. Then we let her go. They called Song back. Made the offer. The old woman went silent for a long time, then said, I'll broker the deal. But once it's done, you can't undo it. You'll wake up tomorrow with no memory of Haewon. No photos, no records, nothing. She'll be erased from your lives completely. And she'll be safe? Zara's voice shook. The underworld keeps its bargains. If you offer the bond, it'll take it and release her. She'll be placed with a human family, grow up normal. You'll never know her. She'll never know you. Do it, Min-jae said before Zara could change her mind. Song began the ritual over the phone, her words ancient and heavy. Zara felt it immediately, a pulling in her chest, like something vital was being ripped out. Memories flickered. Haewon's first smile, her first word, the way she'd curl into Zara's arms during storms. All of it fading, dissolving, gone. I love you, Zara whispered to the empty room. To the daughter she was forgetting. I love you and I'm so sorry. Min-jae's hand found hers, and he was crying, and Zara realized she was too. They held each other while Song's voice droned on, while the bond severed, while everything they'd fought for disappeared like smoke. The ritual ended. Zara blinked. She was standing in the safe house living room, Min-jae beside her, and she had no idea why. What were we doing? She asked. Min-jae frowned. I don't know. I feel like we were talking about something important, but I can't remember. Me neither. Zara looked around the room, at the shattered windows, the message on the wall that now just looked like random stains. Should we call someone about the windows? Yeah, I'll handle it. Min-jae kissed her forehead, casual and familiar. Go back to bed. I'll be up soon. Zara nodded and climbed the stairs, passing a door that was always kept closed. She paused, hand on the knob, feeling like she should open it, like there was something inside she needed to see. But when she turned the handle, it was just an empty room. Dust-covered furniture. Nothing important. She closed the door and went to bed. Across the city, in a small apartment, a woman named Sarah woke to the sound of crying. She stumbled out of bed, confused. She lived alone, always had, and followed the sound to her living room. A baby was sitting on her couch. Maybe 2 years old, with dark eyes and dark hair, watching Sarah with an expression far too knowing for a toddler. "Where did you come from?" Sarah whispered. The baby pointed at the window, where frost was creeping across the glass in deliberate patterns. Symbols Sarah didn't recognize. And beneath the frost, words appeared. "She is yours now. Raise her well. The underworld keeps its bargains." Sarah stared at the child, who stared back, and slowly reached out her arms. Up. And despite every rational thought screaming at her to call the police, Sarah picked up the baby, held her close, felt something click into place in her chest, instant undeniable love. "What's your name?" Sarah asked. The baby smiled. "Haywan." "Haywan." Sarah tested the name. "Okay. I guess you're mine now." Haywan nodded solemn. Then she pressed her tiny hand to Sarah's chest, right over her heart, and whispered, "Yama." And Sarah understood, without knowing how, that this child was hers. Had always been hers. The underworld had just been holding her until Sarah was ready. "Let's get you to bed, sweetheart," Sarah murmured, carrying Haywan to the spare room that had always felt too empty. Behind them, the frost on the window melted. The message dissolved. And the underworld, satisfied with its trade, retreated into shadow. Zara woke the next morning with a strange ache in her chest. Like something vital was missing. But when Minjae pulled her close, kissed her awake, she forgot about it. They had a life to live. And somewhere across the city, Haywan had one too. Different families. Different paths. But the love, the bond the underworld had taken, remained. Very deep, untouchable, sacred. And maybe in another life, they'd find each other again. 10 years later, Zara stood in a cemetery, staring at Minjae's grave. The curse had won after all. Heart attack at 40, just like every Choi man before him. She'd held his hand as he died, and his last words had been, "I feel like I'm forgetting something important." "Me too," she'd whispered back. The funeral was small. Minjae had built an empire, but he'd kept few friends. Zara was alone now. No children, no family, just the echoes of a life that felt incomplete. She visited his grave every week, trying to fill the void in her chest that had been there since the day they met. "Mrs. Choi." Zara turned. A young woman stood behind her, mid-20s, beautiful, with dark eyes that struck Zara as familiar. Beside her, holding her hand, was a girl, maybe 12 years old. Same dark eyes, same serious expression. "I'm sorry to bother you," the woman said. "I'm Sarah. And this is my daughter, Haywan. We've been looking for you for a long time." Zara's breath caught. "Haywan. Mom's been having dreams," Haywan said, her voice older than her years. "Dreams about a man and a woman who loved me before she did. She thought they were just dreams until I started having them too. And then we found this." Sarah held out a photograph, old, faded, but clear. It showed Minjae and Zara standing in a nursery, holding a baby. "Haywan." Zara's hands shook as she took the photo. "Where did you get this?" "It appeared in my apartment 10 years ago. The same night Haywan did." Sarah's eyes were bright with tears. "I've kept it all this time, not knowing what it meant. But yesterday Haywan turned 12, and she looked at me and said, 'I want to meet my first parents.' I thought she was confused. But then I had the dream again, and I saw your face and I knew." Memories were flooding back, impossible, forbidden, real. The burning car. The nursery. The forbidden window. Haywan's tiny hand in hers, whispering Yama. The bond they'd severed. The love the underworld had taken. It was returning. "This isn't possible," Zara whispered. "We gave you up. We forgot you." "You did." Haywan stepped forward, and her hand found Zara's. The touch was warm, familiar. But the underworld can only hold bonds for so long. After 10 years, they weaken. Start to leak. And I'm strong enough now to pull them back. "You remember us?" "I remember everything." Haywan's smile was sad. "I grew up knowing I had 2 sets of parents. Sarah, who raised me and loved me and gave me a normal life. And you and Minjae, who gave me freedom. I love you both." Zara sank to her knees, pulling Haywan into a hug she'd been waiting 10 years to give. The girl held her tight, and Zara felt the bond snap back into place, Painful, beautiful, complete. I'm sorry, Zara sobbed. I'm so sorry we left you. You didn't leave me. You saved me. Haywan pulled back, wiping Zara's tears. And now I'm here. So we can be a family again. If you want. Zara looked at Sarah, who was crying too, and saw understanding in her eyes. She's yours, Sarah said quietly. She's always been yours. I just kept her safe until you could find each other again. Can she be both? Zara asked. Ours and yours. I think she already is. Sarah's smile was soft. I've been her mother for 10 years. You were her mother first. We can figure out how to share. Haywan looked between them, then at Minjae's grave, and her expression crumpled. I'm too late. I wanted to see him. To say thank you. He knew, Zara whispered. Even without the memories, he knew something was missing. And he loved you. Always. They stood together at the grave, 2 mothers and 1 daughter, and Zara felt, for the first time since Minjae's death, like she could breathe again. The underworld had taken her husband. But it had given her back her child. And maybe that was the final bargain. The one she could live with. Haywan was 25 when she finally understood the full truth. Sarah had passed 2 years ago. Cancer, quick and brutal. Zara was 70 now, slowing down, and Haywan had moved back in to help. They'd built a life together, the 3 of them, filling in the gaps left by Minjae's death and the missing years. But there were still pieces that didn't fit. Tell me about the ritual, Haywan said one night, sitting at Zara's kitchen table. The one that created me. Zara's hands stilled on her teacup. You know about that? I've known since I was 12. But you've never told me the details. I think I'm ready now. So Zara told her. Everything. The burning car, the contract, the forbidden window. Ji-won's ghost, the forgotten ones, Minjae's fake death. The bond they'd severed, the memories they'd lost, the 10 years Haywan had spent with Sarah while Zara and Minjae lived in ignorance. When she finished, Haywan was quiet for a long time. So I'm a weapon, she finally said. A bomb designed to tear open a rift if you failed. You were. But you became human. Did I? Haywan's eyes were dark. Or did I just learn to hide what I really am? Zara's blood went cold. What are you saying? I'm saying I still feel it. The power. The connection to the underworld. It never went away, Zara. It just got quieter. Haywan stood, pacing. And lately it's been getting louder. Like something's waking up. Song said the transition was permanent. You became human when the contract ended. Song was wrong. Haywan turned, and Zara saw it. A flicker of darkness in her eyes, there and gone. The underworld doesn't let go. Not really. It's been waiting. Watching. And now that Minjae's dead, now that Sarah's gone, now that I'm the last piece of the original contract still alive, it wants to finish what it started. No. Zara stood, voice shaking. You're free. The contract ended 25 years ago. Contracts don't end, Haywan said, echoing the words that had been written on the wall so long ago. They evolve. And mine's about to evolve into something I can't control. Then we fight it. Like we did before. How? Haywan's laugh was bitter. Song's dead. Jae and Kong disappeared years ago. We have no allies, no weapons, no plan. And I'm running out of time. Time until what? Haywan met her gaze, and Zara saw fear there. Real human fear. Until the rift opens anyway. The underworld planted me here 25 years ago, not as a child but as a seed. And seeds eventually bloom. Zara's world tilted. When? The next new moon. 3 days from now. Haywan's voice cracked. I've tried everything to stop it. Rituals, prayers, therapy. Nothing works. When midnight hits on the new moon, the rift opens and I'm the door. So we'll close the door. You can't close it from the outside. It has to be closed from within. Haywan's hands were shaking, which means I have to go back into the underworld and seal it from the inside. That'll kill you. I know. No. Zara grabbed her shoulders. Absolutely not. We didn't fight for 25 years to save you just so you could die. You fought for 25 years to keep the rift from opening. This is the only way to finish it. Haywan's eyes were too bright. The underworld gave me life. Now I give it back. Fair trade. That's not fair. Life never is. Haewon pulled Zara into a hug, fierce and desperate. But you and Min-jae and Sarah, you gave me 25 years I shouldn't have had. 25 years of being human. Of being loved. That's more than most underworld children ever get. It's not enough. It has to be. Haewon pulled back, wiping her eyes. Because in 3 days I'm going. And I need you to let me. The new moon arrived on a Friday. Zara stood beside Haewon in the ruins of the old temple, the place where Min-jae had faked his death, where so many rituals had been performed. The rift was already forming, a crack in reality, spilling darkness and cold. Last chance to change your mind, Zara said. I've never been more sure of anything. Haewon's smile was sad. Tell Min-jae I said goodbye, wherever he is. I will. Haewon stepped toward the rift, and Zara watched as the darkness reached for her, wrapping around her like a lover's embrace. For a moment, Haewon's human skin flickered, and Zara saw what she truly was. Ancient, powerful, beautiful and terrible. Underworld born. Forever the underworld's child. I love you, Zara whispered. I know. Haewon looked back one last time. And I love you. Both of you. Always. Then she stepped through. The rift sealed. And Zara was alone. She lived another 10 years before the heart attack took her. Quick, painless, a mercy. The doctors said she went in her sleep, but Zara knew better. She'd felt it coming. The pull, the calling, the certainty that it was time. When she opened her eyes, she wasn't in a hospital. She was in a garden. Beautiful, impossible, filled with flowers that didn't exist in the mortal world. And standing at the center, beneath a tree that shimmered like starlight, were two figures. Min-jae young again, smiling like the weight of the world had been lifted. And Haewon grown but ageless holding his hand. Took you long enough, Min-jae said, and his voice cracked. Zara ran. She crashed into them both, and they held her, and she realized this wasn't the underworld. It wasn't heaven. It was something else. Something built from the bond they'd forged, the love they'd shared, the sacrifices they'd made. A place between. You closed the rift, Zara said to Haewon. You saved everyone. I did. Haewon's smile was bright, and the underworld was so impressed it offered me a choice. Stay there and become one of its agents, or come here and wait for you. I chose you. Always, Min-jae added. We'll always choose you. They walked through the garden together. Past, present, and future collapsed into a single moment, and Zara understood that this was the real contract. Not the one written in blood and sealed with sacrifice, but the one built from love. The underworld had given them a child, but they'd given that child a family. And in the end, love was the only bargain that mattered. The underworld gave the Korean Mafia boss a child, but with a rule no one could break. They broke it anyway, not through defiance but through love. And love, it turns out, is the one thing even the underworld can't take back. If you stayed with Zara, Min-jae, and Haewon through all 10 chapters, drop a comment below. Tell us which moment broke you. Which choice would you have made differently? And if you're ready for more stories where impossible rules meet unstoppable love, subscribe. Hit that bell. Because at Afro-Korean Narratives, we don't just tell stories. We engineer obsession. The underworld is listening. What will you bargain for?